Hello, 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 everyone. Peachy out here. Sorry, just give me just a second here. Trying to get this guy. Trying to help out this fellow dubber. His name's Connor, and he just texted me right here. And this is the cool thing about what I love to do to help out the fellow community. And Connor, this is his question. Hey, he's here. Awesome, Connor. Well, I'm gonna explain to what you texted me, okay, Connor? I'm a subscriber, and I wanted to ask you a couple 1.8T questions. I comment live last week about stripping, about the 1.8T timing belt stripping, and I have the whole motor ripped apart. It's time to start ordering shit, and honestly can't figure out what to order. I've done a good amount of research, but I know you have experience with everything and stuff, kinda, I'm getting all new valves, pistons, and rods. The only thing I'm pretty much positive is IE rods. Very good answer. I've heard good things about Ferrara valves, and I'm honestly not sure all about pistons. Hoping you can help. Now, there we go. Now, that is a proper question, everyone. Very, very specific, very much to the point. And that's what I love when you guys take your time and ask me questions, because this is what tonight's live stream is about, is to answer Connor's question. And we're going to answer it very carefully, thoroughly, and as properly as I can. Okay? And we're going to make it simple. So we're going to go from top to bottom of your engine block. Okay, Connor? And what that means is your top, starting with your head, working your way down to the bottom of the block. Okay? So, assuming the top, we're only going to talk about the head. Since two pieces are already taken apart, you got the block, okay? And then you got the head. We're only going to get rid of the block right now. We're only going to talk about the head, okay? So, on a 1.8T, you have 20 valves, all right? 3 intake, 2 exhausts, pretty much per cylinder. That's how you get your 20 valve 1.8T. So valves are the most important things to do to an engine, a 1.8T head, when you're going past the 300 horsepower range. Why? Well, the exhaust valves are the most notorious valves for burning or getting too hot, meaning the valve itself will get so hot that it can warp or not seal, or they'll just prematurely fail. And what we call another thing that can happen is called floating. Floating a valve. It's a term very common when you get into horsepower, when you try to start actually making real power in your little engine. So depending on your power goals, okay, is pretty much the route you're going to take to build your engine. I know that sounds very, very vague, but in all honesty, it's Jaeger, buddy. I'm a Jaeger man. In all honesty, it's the most important actual question to ask yourself when building a motor. So let's jump right into it. 300 horsepower, okay, is stock block pretty much range. Anything from 300 and down is pretty much open to whatever you want to do to your engine, externally wise, cosmetics, basic bolt-ons, a slightly bigger turbo. Now, that being said, 300 horsepower is super, super easily achieved on a 1.8T. It's not very difficult. Now, there's a problem. Horsepower doesn't affect your motor. Torque does. Power, grunt, strength. That is what breaks 1.8Ts. Now, torque, the magic number for a 1.8 is about 300 to 310 foot-pounds of torque, maybe 320, and that's really pushing it. depending on how the drivetrain is built on those cars. But to be simple, 300 foot-pounds of torque is your safety, like your safety net. That's pretty much as a stock block can take. Pretty much a KO4, maybe a hybrid KO4 is pretty much what will push you in the torque range. What's crazy about 1.8Ts, they make more torque than they do horsepower. It's kind of ass backwards, which is actually really cool because that's what makes you feel like you're going really fast. Okay? They make a lot of torque. They make very little horsepower, vice versa, depending on the turbo setup that you're going with. Now, Connor, what is your horsepower goal first? Where do you want to sit power-wise? I'm waiting for you to respond, so. What's going on? Okay. Can you give me a couple minutes? Or? Okay. Give me a minute. You listening, Connor? I mean, I'm waiting for your response. This live stream is for you. Come on, Connor. Okay, there we go. 400. Perfect. So there's two ways you can go around this, okay? If you have it's okay. It's okay. I'm just waiting for you to respond. So, two ways. If you're willing, or if you can hunt down something cheap, are you on a budget? Do you have like a limit, a price range where you're looking at? Because that really will point us to the left or right pretty much, which are the two options I'm going to give you. Is there like a minimum, maximum dollar amount? Think about that. So there's no minimum. Okay. Because get this through your head, Connor. It is very, very important to have a budget, because you can have an imaginary no limit amount, but then you start putting stuff together and then you're like, oh crap, I just spent all that money and I don't even have a motor put together yet. This is why I have to give yourself a real number. I know a lot of people say, not really, I don't know, money's not an option. But when it comes down to it, there is an option, and you will have a budget, and you will find that budget really quick. And this is why I have to ask these questions, because they're very, very important questions to keep in mind and to have your thoughts. So, because like I said, there's two options you can go. There's a left and a right. There's a good price and a very expensive price. And both of them are actually not bad ways to go. It's just depending on, like I said, where you're trying to go. So we're going to talk about the cheap option first, okay? Since you're not really giving me a response or at least a generic number that would work. So okay, that's what I'm looking at. Block. We're just talking about the head and the block. Perfect. That's a great number. That's very doable. Okay. So now your price range puts us more to the left on the budget side, which is fine. It's not a bad thing to say a budget to be like, oh, it sounds cheap. No. Don't put that in your head. What's going on, AJ? What we're going to talk about is a realistic build for everyone. The common mechanic, everyday Joe Schmo, bought a $1,000 Mark IV and wants to build a 400 horsepower Mark IV. This is what I'm going to explain to you guys how to do that, okay? But give me a moment. My wife just called me. I got to go help her out. Just give me a minute, okay? Hang in there. I'll be right back. I got to help out, family stuff. All right, I'm back. I'm back. Thank you for waiting, guys. Sorry, what's going on? Okay, so, bro, after MK4 GTI sleeve, believe it's really nice to drive my car, but put some gas and move forward. All right, so we're gonna talk about Connor's budget of $3,000. Okay, this is awesome because this is like the sweet spot for everyone with a Mark IV 1.8T. All right, pay attention. Don't ask any questions yet in the comments. Just pay attention and listen. All right, guys. So here we go. First, if you can find, I understand you already took it apart your 1.8. First thing you need to do on the head. Now, again, we're talking about budget. So you can get away with factory valves on the intake side, upgrade the valves, upgrade the valves on the exhaust side to like Ferrera or SuperTech valves. SuperTech valves are a lot more affordable, and you can get them to match what's it called, the factory stems and the actual factory amount of pins. I forgot, guides, I think that's what it's called, which is good. Okay, so if you do like just the exhaust side and you keep the factory intake side, you're good. You can do that. Now, let's assume again the timing kind of bent the valves, so you're kind of messed up on intake and exhaust. Okay, put in the money into intake and exhaust valves. You will benefit much more down the road, especially when you get into the 400 horsepower range. Now, valves, if you shop around, you can definitely get a whole set of valves for about $300, $500. If you shop around, you got to take your time. Okay, rods, about $450, $500. That's your first $1,000. You got it? Okay, that's pretty much it. Now, what you need to do is go to a junkyard, find another pretty much undamaged 1.8T, or find someone parting out a 1.8T and selling you just an engine, dirt cheap, and use the stock pistons inside of that. Stock 1.8T pistons are great up to 500 horsepower. Okay? Now, that being said, I'm talking about 1.8T pistons from a 2002 AWP engine block. Okay, guys? That's here in the United States. They kind of do, don't they? So that's pretty much, if you hunt down a 1.8T, and like I said, you get stock pistons, you're probably can get a beat up 1.8 for like $100. I just picked up another one yesterday for helping my friend Kenneth work on his car. By the way, if you're watching, Kenneth, awesome dude. Okay, so let's assume you spend another $100. Okay. Okay. Again, guys, listen. Don't ask questions. I'm trying to explain this for Connor first. Okay. Okay. Again, guys, wait for the extra questions. I can answer those in a little bit. Okay. No worries. No reason to ask. Be sorry. Just wait. Just be patient. So now you got your rods, your valves. If you hunt down again stock pistons, AWP and up, pretty much anything up, are 19 20 miller wrist pins. if you go to 20 mil wrist pins, your only benefit is for more horsepower. That only matters when you're going way beyond the 400 horsepower range, like way beyond. So that's just to answer your question really quick, okay? Now, again, so that we're already at like $1,100, maybe $200 for a beat 1.8. So you're at $1,200. All right. Now, here's where it becomes really tricky, okay? Are you going to assemble the head yourself, or are you going to have a shop assemble it? That matters a lot, okay? Personally, I would have a shop assemble the head because they'll be able to they'll properly grind down all the valves so everything fits and seals perfect. They'll install new stem seals. So if a shop just builds the head, you got to shop around at what machine shop is going to do that for you, because this is where we're going to go down to now. The head, if you're going to stay, stock cams are fine. Keep that in mind. Your camshafts are perfectly fine for 400 horsepower. Beyond that, we're going to have to talk completely different stuff, okay? But you're fine at stock. Okay, so now we already got the head done, because with the valves, you can use the factory retainers and factory springs, okay? Now, if you're planning on like running a lot of boost, then I would probably upgrade the entire valve train, which will run you about $1,200 to $1,500 in total. So this is where your budget goes back and forth. You got to really consider what are you trying to do in the long run, okay? Again, so if you only did exhaust valves or you did intake and exhaust, like I said, you're about $500. Pistons and rods, by about $600. That puts you around the $1,100 range. The pistons we're using are factory AWP pistons. Done. That is the head. Now we're going to go to the block, okay? Once we talk about the internals of the block, then we'll talk about machine shop stuff, okay? Your block, since you got the rods and pistons already picked out, there's no more additional money. Remember that. So what goes into your block? What money do you need to factor in? Number one, okay, if you're going to go with integrated engineering rods, awesome thing about IE, they are balanced for factory cranks. There's nothing you need to do to the engine or the crank to balance it, so you don't have crazy vibration and then you have a shorter engine life. Think about that. Awesome. Best company out there right now in the market for rods, because they are true drop-in rods. A lot of other companies will tell you, yeah, they're drop-in. Are they blueprinted to a factory crank? Probably not. I would probably definitely consider that and see how far off balance they are. It's very important, okay? So the next thing is bearings. What type of bearings you're going to run. Since you're going to high horsepower, you're probably going to need something that's Catco coated. Those give less friction, allowing the crank to spin faster, less heat buildup, run a lot better, and you can run higher horsepower. Not bad. Cheap, like $100 for a set. Not very expensive for a set of Catco coated bearings. So those are the bearings for the crank. Your rod bearings, again, you got to factor into your price range. What's going on, Banging? That's probably another $100. Okay, so $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 now. You're gonna need piston rings. Okay, piston rings run anywhere from about $150 to $250. Okay, so we're what, 12, 13, 14, 15, $1,600 already. All right, that right there. Awesome, Banging. That right there is almost the $2,000 range. We haven't even hit that $2,000 range. We're like $1,600 now. So now this is where you got to be very careful where your rest of your money is going to go into. Okay. Machine work. So what's next is that the head and the block have to be decked. What does decking mean? Well, decking means you create a perfect mirror surface on both surfaces of the head and the block. What that allows you to do is when you put a new head gasket, that sumbitch is going to seal the first time you torque that sucker down, and you're never going to worry about that thing to ever leak very long time. So that is a very, very important thing to do when building a block. Okay. The next thing is honing. You don't need to bore your engine over. Remember that. You just got to hone it. That's all you got to do. Just get a machine shop to get that sucker nice and smooth, a gorgeous crosshatch. You're going to be super happy. Okay. The next part of this whole thing process is you're going to hot tank it. Now, where your expense comes into is the honing and the decking and the miking. Okay. What I mean by miking, the measurements of every single cylinder and the crank. They got to measure if there's any wear done on the crank, any wear done on the main bearings, on the main caps. They got to measure if there's any wear or over round or out of round on each cylinder. Okay, meaning the cylinder has to be perfectly round. You'd be surprised on how often some engines are like oval, or they're actually slanted on the inside because improper oil changes. Okay, so that's very, very important when you guys consider your price, because machine shop work, good machine shop work, is not cheap. Okay, so your machine shop is probably going to be a good $1,000. So at $16,000, there's $2,600. Okay, you have $400 left in your budget. What do you do with it? Because now we put valves, we reuse your factory springs and not guides, but factory springs and retainers. You're going to use pretty much the new stem seals. You're going to get that as part of your build. Usually you get stem seals when you buy a set of valves, so it's not really a big deal about spending more money on that. So where does the $400 extra? Okay, no, we're not factoring the clutch. This Connor is strictly talking about just the block, so we're not factoring any drivetrain or actual boosting components. This is just the block. Okay, so you have $400 left to play with. Where would you throw that $400 in your block? Where would you think that would matter? Ding, 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 ding. Right there. Fagan just said it. The studs. Your engine hardware. You're going to need to get ARP hardware. Boom. Right on your head. That's $200. You got $200 left. What's left that you can do to your block that make you 400 horsepower? What's left, guys? There's one thing that a lot of people overlook, because it's actually a very, very this guy. It's a very, very important piece of the puzzle, besides the hardware on the head. People always overlook it because they think, it's just a specific part. Anybody? All right. Looks like no one has an answer. That's okay. No, we're not talking about nothing exterior wise. It's a part of the engine. Spark plugs are not part of the engine. That's just whatever an add-on to your engine. Okay. Obviously they are required for the engine to run, but it's not going to give you horsepower or reliable power. These are two of them. Okay. So they're two parts, and they're not very expensive. They're actually inexpensive. You could probably get them both for about $100. And it's the crank bolt and the cam bolt. Okay. Those are very, very important, because the crank bolt that goes on the factory crank that comes in from the dealer, or the factory one, is a stretch bolt. It is a one-time use bolt, and it only goes down to like 100 pounds of torque or 150 pounds of torque. It doesn't go really tight. ARP goes on at like 45 foot-pounds of torque, and I think by the time you actually go to the 45 and then it's half a turn or quarter turn, I can't remember what it is, it's like 300 foot-pounds. That holds that crank gear with so much more force. When you hit that 300 plus horsepower range, you need that. Yeah, the bolts that hold the one bolt, the big bolt that holds the crank gear on, not the four, the little four tiny ones. No. I'm talking about the big one in the middle of that. That is the next most important part of your entire engine build. And the one that goes on the actual cam, there's a one single little bolt. It's a 16 millimeter that holds that cam gear. That little bolt, you'd be surprised how much force that thing goes, because it goes on in reverse, and obviously it spins, so it holds it. But ARP bolts don't stretch and don't lose their tension when you torque them on, because they're not a stretch bolt. They're meant to hold and just stay on there with pressure. When you're making a lot of power, you don't want a cam gear to get vibrating or loose, because then you can skip a tooth and there's the end of your engine pretty much. It's just like that, kablooey, done, all gone. So that will put you just at the $3,000 price range for building a 400 horsepower engine block. Okay, guys? There are little things you're going to miss here and there, aka gaskets. That's not a part of the actual build. All the gaskets are part of your assembly, but it's not what's going to make the power for your engine block. So I don't factor those in as the price point, because gaskets alone are going to run you $300 to $500 alone, and you'd be surprised. Head gaskets like what, $120, and all the other random gaskets. He's going to spend like a good $200 $300 on just gaskets, and it's going to suck. But it's a part of your build, but I don't factor in that as part of the whole entire long block process. Hopefully that makes sense, Connor. But your price range is a very, very realistic price range for all of us guys here at the garage, building stuff in our garage, in our driveway. That is a real price point. Now, everything else around that during your build is obviously a much more money, because turbo, intercooler piping, downpipe, exhaust system, fueling, tuning, all your additional modifications and all that is going to add up. I'm sorry, that part, everything else around that is going to add up. But if you build a bulletproof block with that budget, you can add. Remember that, guys. You don't have to go into the deep end immediately. Build that block. Build your block. Break it in with a stock everything. Put everything back on it stock. Drive it like a stock motor. Have fun with it. Go nuts. It won't break. You legitimately build a bulletproof block. That thing will take a beating night and day. Like, that thing built like that, it is phenomenal. You will love that engine all day, and it'll take a beating. You can two-step the living crap out of it, and it won't care, because you got the right parts in it. That's what matters, guys. A lot of these, yeah, I mean, the stuff that IE has, if you bought pretty much a race engine from Integrated Engineering, those are 700 plus horsepower engines. So yeah, you're going to spend $7,000, $8,000, but those are high horsepower engines. You better be forking out that money to build it, though. I mean, to build around that. If you're going to spend $7,000, you better be spending $7,000 more to utilize that engine. Simple as that. Those engines are meant to take an amazing amount of beating, but they're phenomenal. They'll make shit tons of power, But I don't got $7,000 to throw around. But And honestly, I got $3,000. I can fork out $3,000 in about a year to build one block, and then put it in my Mark IV stock, save up another $3 to $4,000, and build my big turbo setup around that. Why not? Why not? You'll be fine. I think that's actually a really smart decision in doing it that way, especially because all of us don't have race car money. We're all the average Joe. We have a life, we have a family, we own more than one car, we have bills. Okay, AJ, I can explain to you what a long block and a short block is. Very, very simple. A long block is the head and the block together. That is one piece. That's considered a long block. A short block is meaning that the head is missing. So you only have the bottom half. So pistons, rods, and everything internally. That is a short block. Because all you do is slap a head on it and go. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So that is the difference between a long block and a short block. If you ever see that. And prices do, make a difference, because if you make a bulletproof bottom end, you don't have to go so expensive on the top, But again, it all has its pros and its cons. You got to really think about that. That is very important when building a high horsepower motor. Like my car, Filbert, that's pretty much how I built it. I built top, bottom, but I didn't go crazy. I used factory pistons. I did AWP pistons. I'm pushing 20 pounds of boost. I'm making 400 plus horsepower on Filbert, and I daily the living crap out of that car. Think about that, guys. I daily this. It's not a race car, It's something that I drive every single day, back and forth to work, go to car meets, going to visit some family. It's an everyday car, and it drives like a stock car, and then goes like hell once I floor it. It's phenomenal. I love it. It's a great, fun car. What turbo I would run? It all depends on, again, Connor, it's your budget. Now you're going to have to factor in your turbo, your big turbo budget. Now you have a budget for your engine. You got $3,000. What is your budget for your turbo build? And I can show you a cheap turbo or value turbo and a high-end turbo. There we go. Turbos. We all like these things. These all give us hard-ons. Don't lie. All right. Things are heavy, so give me a second here. All right. So this is the turbo I ran on my car before it caught fire. And this is a AR 80, I think, or no, AR 63. So has a smaller hot side, and it has an AR 90 cold side. This is a journal bearing turbo. So journal bearing turbos are more on the cheap side. However, they offer a lot of power, okay, for a lower price. Now, this is not a Chinese turbo, okay? Keep that in mind. These are not made in China. This one is actually a Brazilian turbo. It's made in Brazil. And they make everything in-house in their factory, so it's not like outsourced to random countries. They make good turbos. I'm not going to say these are phenomenal. These, like I said, these are a budget, but these are reliable budget journal bearing turbos. I know reliable and budget don't go in the same sentence, but in this scenario, they do. This turbo pretty much made my 400 horsepower. I paid about $500 for this turbo. It's not a very expensive turbo, and it made the power I wanted. Very, very good turbo. It's a T3 setup, so very, very simple top mount. I use pretty much a log manifold. style. This is made by a company called SPA Turbo. You guys can see that. Okay, SPA Turbo is from Brazil. Like I said, they make good stuff and they're on a good price. I can't complain. Okay, now that turbo, that's it. That's a budget turbo. Now here's a big boy turbo. This is a Garrett T3 AR 84 hot side and AR 50 cold side. This is 2.5 inches. Okay, this is $1,000 turbo, pretty much, or let's say about $800 for this turbo. This is a very, very nice turbo. This is also a journal bearing, and the way that you can tell that this is a journal bearing turbo is because you have only oil fed. This is only oil cooled. You cannot get a ball bearing turbo that is just oil cooled. They have to be oil and coolant cooled. However, Garrett makes a very well balanced system. These things spin still pretty dang fast. And like I said, these are affordable, and they make very, very good power. Garrett turbos are probably the most reliable you'll ever get your hands on if you ever get a hands on them. Building around a turbo is very, very important because once you pick one turbo, like the turbo that you want for your car, everything gets built around that. You cannot buy a downpipe and then buy a turbo. No. You can't buy intercooler piping and then buy a turbo. No. Can't buy a turbo and then buy a manifold. Nope. You buy the turbo, then you buy your manifold, then you buy your exhaust. Your exhaust is probably going to end up being full-on custom because this is not a common bolt pattern for all turbos. They come like this. They come either V-clamp, or, that weird funky. They're all different. And that's the thing you guys have to understand, that turbos come in so many different flavors. It's hard to choose. It's very, very hard to choose. However, your budget lets you choose it. Okay. Another super, super popular turbo is a Garrett GT28. They run about $1,000 to $1,200, but those are ball bearing turbos. They spin stupid fast and they spin very, very quick. Like they spool very low RPMs. A journal bearing turbo spins a lot slower. Now, there's a benefit, honestly. Yeah, I did say I saw the new designs for electric turbos are pretty neat. There's a benefit to a slow spinning turbo, actually. I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, but think about this. You just daily it. You don't want to race it all day, so why spool all the time? Well, that's one thing. One benefit is no surge. Number two, fuel consumption is much, much lower. You can pretty much drive your car like stock. You'll get stock gas mileage, which is hilarious. My car gets 300 to 330 miles on a full tank of gas without flooring it. If I'm driving like a madman for a week, I get about 280. That's not bad. 280 miles to the gallon. To the tank is not bad on a 400 horsepower car. Think about that. Okay. Number two, on top of fuel economy with the bigger journal bearing turbo, torque or your turbo lag is downside, kind of sucky. You get crazy turbo lag. You don't start boosting until about 4,000 plus RPMs, but you don't get torque steer. You don't get crazy torque where you start losing control and it's not safe. People don't think about that. Big turbo cars, most people who race are racing on the freeway doing, 20, 60 mile runs or 30 mile an hour, rolls. You don't need to worry about from a dig. There's your other benefit. you can actually downshift the living crap out of that son of a bitch and keep it around 4,000 RPMs, and you just, whew, you're gone. Because the torque curve on a journal bearing turbo is kind of like slow, it's gradual, and it just keeps going and building power, building power. On a ball bearing turbo, it's like crazy torque. If you don't spend that money on that diff and that tranny, you're going to break stuff pretty quick. And people don't realize that torque breaks stuff. Yeah. Horsepower don't break anything. Torque does. You'll snap an axle. You'll break a gear. You'll destroy a gear. You'll, whatever. You name it. It's freaking almost limitless to how much damage you can do to your car with a lot of torque on a ball bearing turbo. Like, again, I got nothing against it. I love instant power. I love the fact that I can spool at 2,500, 3,000 RPMs. However, I'm afraid I'm on a budget. I don't got money to throw away and $2-3 on a transmission. Well, safe range, get yourself a journal bearing turbo. Slower torque, more fun. And you're on the reliable side. You are going to be reliable. You won't break everything all the time. I know it sounds dumb, but it's actually real. It's something that a lot of people don't think about, So now, what else is there? Well, intercooler piping is very important. So buying a front mount intercooler, your piping. But when you buy your turbo, that's when you're getting ready to do big boy stuff, because you're going to need to make a custom downpipe. Okay? People don't think about that. You got to make a custom downpipe. If not, that thing is never going to spool. Never. Are you going to consider an external wastegate or an internal wastegate? Are you going to run screamer pipes, or are you going to actually run the wastegate into your exhaust? Okay. Right? I agree. I agree, Bangin. And those are the things you're going to factor in down the road. How much are you going to spend for the rest of your part? Well, fueling depends on your build. You want to go like fancy? You want to go, all new A&N fittings? Are you going to upgrade pretty much, all the crazy fueling? You can spend a pretty penny on just fuel pump and fuel rail, fuel lines, fuel injectors. You can spend an easy $1,000 on just fueling, and the car's not even running yet. Okay, let's consider that fueling. Number 2, downpipe exhaust system. Okay, number 3, intercooler piping. Okay, you can spend a pretty penny. Okay, number 4, are you going to run wastegate internally or externally? Depending on the turbo you buy, that's what you choose. Number 4, where am I at? Yeah, bad fuel, just the car will run like crap and it won't make any power. Top end is just dead. Nothing last but not least, but people don't think about, are you doing a wastegate? A blow-off valve or a diverter valve? That matters a lot. People actually don't think about that. Some tuners will not tune a car with a blow-off valve. They will require a diverter valve. Okay. Are you going to be running water meth? Are you going to be running E85? Are you going to be, what is the other thing? Are you going to be running a catch can circulated or a Venta atmosphere catch can? Are you going to be doing, there's a lot of other things you got to factor in. It's crazy on what you go, especially if you're going to go to strictly oil cooled. Are you going to run an external oil cooler? Because that is very, very vital for keeping that turbo healthy. People don't even think about that either. So your oil changes go from $30 to almost $60 because you're going to add another 2 to 3 quarts of oil just for an oil cooler, to keep that turbo healthy. Bad oil or overheating or oil or burning oil will cause that turbo to prematurely fail and you're done. You're spending another $800. You know, things like that you do have to consider. All right, Connor. But your block super doable for $3,000. Everything else around it, you might have to spend another $3,000 to $4,000 by the time you're done with everything. When you do it right, okay. When you do it wrong is when you live on eBay and you start buying eBay junk. Yes, all you people out there who buy eBay junk, it is junk. I'm sorry, but it's junk. Okay? I don't know. Yep. eBay quality. Yeah, man. I get people who hit me up. Hey, man, I got a 1.8 Ti. I bought this $600 turbo kit. I say, have a good time. I don't care. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. You bought junk, and I'm not going to help you do it because it's super unsafe, and you're going to break stuff. I guarantee you're going to break stuff. Nothing's going to fit, and it's just going to not run well. You're probably going to make some power or probably not. I agree, banging. It does not apply to everyone. Does not. However, there are, I'd say 90% of the stuff on eBay is legitimate junk. 90%, maybe more. I'd probably go as close to say 95% of stuff on eBay is junk. And that includes Amazon, all right? Amazon and eBay is the same thing. Again, I understand would you rather pay this for that, but that's not that's not really a part that makes the car reliable or makes your car go faster. We're strictly talking about go fast parts. The only time I will tell you, my only thing I would recommend eBay wise, and this is the 5%, is an intercooler kit. Now, I'm not saying a specific intercooler kit for your car. I'm saying do your measurements, okay? Find an intercooler that fits your diameter and your measurements, okay? Then find intercooler piping. All this, take it to a shop, have them weld everything the way you want it, and get yourself a legit intercooler setup. No, nothing wrong about that. But that's the 5% on eBay or Amazon that I allow personally. I mean, I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna say like, oh yeah, no. Intercoolers are fine because it's just aluminum. As long as the casting's done right and there's no leaks on the actual intercooler itself, and you don't use 50 couplers to put everything together, you're good. My intercooler setup on my Mark IV is 100% from eBay, actually Amazon. I bought a Mishimoto intercooler, which I spent I think $250 for, and then I bought cheap Chinesium intercooler piping. It cost me $120. Had a shop weld it for another $300. Got myself a legit intercooler setup that came out the way I wanted it to look, So, but again, there's tons of ways to do it. There's no really, you guys having a conversation over there and I'm trying to talk. There's really no, I guess there is a wrong way to do it and there's a right way to do it. AJ, it's okay. I'm just like reading your comments and it's distracting to me trying to talk to Connor. But it's okay. Don't worry about it, man. No reason to say sorry. It's distracting to me. Again, back to what I was saying. It's like not hard to do wrong, but it is easy to do wrong, I guess. Just be careful. I tell people just to be careful as much as you can. You'd be surprised on how easy it is to buy something. You're like, oh, this is cheap. I should have just bought the cheap one. And then out of nowhere, causes more damage than being helpful to you. So definitely be careful. Catch cans, you can definitely go away with cheap eBay ones. I mean, there's not much to a catch can, honestly. But make yourself some AN fittings. They work better. They look better. Learn how to use the cheap slip-on AN fittings for catch cans. Don't use that cheap slip-on stuff for oil return lines or fuel lines. You guarantee you're going to catch fire, and that's the end of your car. Don't do that. Have a shop make you AN lines for your car because it's safer. I know, honestly, man, don't risk it. Billet KO4 is great. It's a great turbo choice, Ricardo. So hopefully, Connor, you learned a lot from this night session. We gotta call it quits in just a minute or so. But stay tuned, everyone, because of course, AJ, I can help you with that. We'll talk later. It's late for me, and I'm gonna go watch some cartoons tonight. I'm gonna watch some anime. But I'm happy that I was able to help you, Connor. This is much better than trying to text you and call you. This way this will be saved and you'll be able to enjoy it later. Back to the last thing I was going to announce and comment for you guys. Kenneth, the guy I helped yesterday, pull 2 engines from his cars and put one of the engines back in one of his cars, okay? Gave me a 1.8T with a transmission and a wire harness. He gave it to me. So I am going to do a full refresher on that engine. We're going to slap on a kinetic manifold, a KO4 turbo, a boost dynamic tuning tune, injectors, and intake, and we're going to give that whole entire engine kit away. Okay? I'm giving that whole entire kit away. Over $3,000, full on, pretty much drop the engine into your car and have fun, We're going to do, like I said, we're going to refresh the engine. Just let me buy it for $2,000. No, let someone win it. It'd be fun. We need more of these prizes. You guys need to win more stuff. I want to give you guys more stuff. So, again, my goal for this prize, but no way this time. My goal, if you guys are local within, like, saying around California, the States, I'm thinking about putting it in the car, bringing my cherry picker, my tool sets, and delivering it to the winner and helping him install it in his car. I think that'd be super cool. I think that'll make you guys super excited. Me coming over, we get together, drink some beers, pull a motor, pop in another motor in, and turn that sucker on. Oh, it'd be so dope. I think that'd be a lot of fun for you guys. I think we probably have to do that. I think I want to do that. You guys can come to me and we'll do it in my drive. We'll do it here. We'll do a full live session. What's going on, my free? Whole live session here too. If you're local, we do it. If you win, hell yeah, I'd do it on a heartbeat. Oh yeah. Sure, with a stripper, I guess if you want to put a stripper in it, we'll do it. Shit, have some fun. Beer. I think that would be fun for you guys. I want to cater more to you guys and make you guys want to spread the word of Pinche Al's Garage. Help me. I'm almost at 9,000 subscribers. I need 1,000 more to hit that 10,000 mark. I would love everyone in the world to hit 10,000 subscribers. You don't understand. It took me 5 years to get to where I am right now. Let me finish it and hit 10,000 by the end of the year. Yeah, I would love, like I said, I would love to make a trip down, drive that engine over, and install it in your car and fly back, get a rental and fly back. It'd be super cool. Again, let's figure it out. I'm gonna get that engine actually tomorrow or Tuesday. I'm picking it up. I'm gonna bring it over, show you guys its condition, so you guys can see. We're gonna take it all apart, clean it all up, and then give it away with a whole crate KO4 kit and all the bells and whistles for a fun drop-in, bolt-on, like fun kit for you guys. We will. Don't worry, AJ. Everybody gets to learn. I give everybody all the instrument, but if you guys can, please share my page, share my YouTube channel as much as you can. The more people we get involved in this channel, the more I can do for you. My goal is to not work anymore and do more for you guys. My whole goal is to build more cars. I want to give away cars. I want to give away more product. I want to have fun. I want to travel to your neck of the woods and have fun and work and wrench and just have fun, with you guys. But if it doesn't happen, oh well. I still got a good job, but again, I gotta have to work over there full time, and whatever. Who cares? Thank you, or how we say in Japan, "Domo arigato," and have a wonderful, or gracias in español. But yeah, I would love you guys to share my channel. Share. Every time I hit YouTube, post, share me on Instagram, Facebook. Hey, Pinchale's live. Hit me up. All right. Have a good night, Connor. Hopefully this night session or live session did you well. And everybody else who joined in, be excited for the new contest coming right up. So, and it's going to be a Christmas contest. So hopefully I can have it ready by Christmas. No, I hope you do. And I hope you learned something tonight. Thank you, everybody, and have yourself a wonderful night. And as always, here at Pinchale's Garage, if you see another fellow dubber on the road, give them a thumbs up, respect one another, and as always, we're going to break, fix, and repeat, because this is Pinchale's Garage. Much love, everyone.